Welcome back to another edition of Humm Baby Busts, and today we'll go back to the MLB drafts of the 1990s and talk about some of the major busts from these amazing drafts that produced future Hall of Famers like Chipper Jones, Scott Rowland, Roy Halladay, and the recently elected Todd Helton. But there were many extremely promising players taken high in the first round who looked like can't-miss future superstars, but just couldn't quite make it as an MLB player. So let's jump right into this list, starting at number 15, Chad Mottola, Cincinnati Reds, 5th overall, 1992. To start today's list, we have someone who I feel like never really got a full chance to prove himself, but as a 5th overall pick who hit just 200 in the bigs, I had to put him on the list. During the 92 drafts, the Yankees draft room broke out in celebration when the Reds took outfielder Chad Mottola out of Central Florida, allowing the Yankees to take a young future Hall of Famer by the name of Derek Jeter at number 6. One Red scout, Gene Bennett, begged the front office to take Jeter, but he was overruled. Mottola was a monster in high school, hitting .573 with 14 homers his senior year, leading him to being drafted by the Orioles in 1989. He instead went to college and hit .329 with 14 homers and an OPS over 1,000 his junior year with UCF. He also had great speed and a high baseball IQ, and he continued to show amazing potential in the minors, hitting .280 with 21 homers and high A in 1993. By 1996, when Mottola was ready for his opportunity, he was blocked by a crowded Reds outfield that included Reggie Sanders, Curtis Goodwin, Eric Davis, Vince Coleman, Mike Kelly, and Eric Anthony. He got his first taste of MLB in 96 anyway, but hit just .215 in 79 at-bats. Then the Reds signed Deion Sanders and Ruben Sierra for the 97 season, and Mottola spent the entire year in the minors, despite hitting .317 with a .363 on base and .839 OPS. He was traded to the Rangers early in 98, but was never promoted to the big leagues and ended up with the White Sox, where he tore it up, hitting .321 with 20 homers in AAA, but still no promotion. He did even better in 2000 with the Blue Jays AAA team in Syracuse, crushing 33 bombs with a .309 average, taking home the International League MVP, but he was given just 9 MLB at-bats before being traded to the Marlins, where he was again stashed away in the minors despite hitting .295 in AAA, and when he was finally promoted, he got just 7 MLB at-bats. Mottola continued to hit well in the minors, showing impressive power, but was only given sporadic opportunities in the big leagues, and by the end of his career, he had only 125 big league at-bats and hit just 200 with 4 homers, but never really got a single extended opportunity. He hit .280 with 249 home runs in his minor league career. Mottola became a coach after his playing career and is currently the hitting coach for the Tampa Bay Rays. Number 14, Paul Wilson, New York Mets, 1st overall, 1994. In 94, the Mets had the 1st overall pick and went with a player who was considered the best pitcher in college baseball, Paul Wilson. Wilson was good enough in high school to get drafted by the Pirates, but he opted to attend college, and his draft stock skyrocketed when he dominated at Florida State, striking out 163 batters in 143 innings while walking just 32 with a 2.08 ERA his junior year. The Mets hoped that he would rise through the system along with 2 other promising arms, Jason Isringhausen and Bill Pulsipher, to become one of the best 1-2-3 combos in baseball, a regular Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. After going 0-7 his first year in the minors, the Mets pushed him hard in 95, and he pitched 186.2 innings. He pitched well, completing 8 games and going 11-6 with a 2.41 ERA, but he was overused and experienced tendinitis. He was rushed to the big leagues the very next season and was already damaged goods, going 5-12 with a 5.38 ERA, striking out just 6.6 per 9. He blew out his shoulder and barely pitched over the next 3 seasons, missing all of 1999. Wilson made a commendable comeback with the Rays and started 30 games in 2002, but went 6-12 with a 4.83 ERA. After 3 seasons with the Rays and 3 with the Reds, he retired with a 40-58 career record and 4.86 ERA. Having managed a 7-year big league career, I can't put him too high on the list, but as a 1st overall pick, he had to be on here somewhere. Earlier this year, 30 years after his last pitch at Florida State, Wilson decided to return to FSU to complete his degree.
Yes, I will go back to school and achieve victory.
Number 13, BJ Garvey, Minnesota Twins, 5th overall, 1999. Next, we go to the 99 draft with BJ Garvey, the Gatorade High School Baseball Player of the Year, who was taken 5th overall in a first round that included 6 future All-Stars, a future MVP in Josh Hamilton, and a future World Series MVP in Josh Beckett. Most scouts ranked BJ Garvey as the second best high school position player after Hamilton. He was incredibly strong with a quick bat that made consistent contact. He was known as a prospect with superior strike zone knowledge, with the potential to turn into a big power hitter who limits strikeouts. And he looked fantastic in rookie ball, hitting .316 with just 34 strikeouts and 192 at-bats. Unfortunately, the next year in A-ball, he hit just .233 in 133 games. Garvey could work the count and limit strikeouts, but the power was not developing as the Twins had hoped. After a couple more similar seasons, he was promoted to Double-A in 2003 and hit just .178 with 3 homers and 225 at-bats. In 2004, it was more of the same, with Garvey hitting just 3 home runs again. He was traded to the Mariners for 41-year-old veteran Pat Borders. Garvey never made it above Double-A there and ended up in the Marlins organization for one last season in 2006 when he hit .184 with, once again, 3 home runs. At least he was consistent. Garvey retired and pursued his passion for beer by opening up and becoming the CEO of a brewery called 10 Pin Brewing in his hometown of Moses Lake, Washington. Number 12, Jeff Gattis. New York Mets, 6th overall, 1997. In 1997, the New York Mets had the 6th pick and just missed out on several future All-Stars such as J.D. Drew, Troy Glaus, and Vernon Wells. So they went with a high school strikeout machine named Jeff Gattis out of Tampa, Florida. He could hit and pitch at a high level and was known as Florida's Mr. Baseball. Gattis was the highest high school player drafted out of Tampa since Gary Sheffield. Unfortunately, despite still striking out a good number of hitters in the minors, Gattis struggled with his control, and in 1998 in Single-A he walked 4.6 batters per 9 and ended the season with a 6-8 record and decent 4.2 ERA. He then became an answer to a baseball trivia question when he was traded along with Preston Wilson and Ed Yarnall to the Florida Marlins for Mike Piazza, who would go on to hit one of the most dramatic home runs in Mets history and baseball history during the first game in New York after 9/11. With the Marlins organization, Gattis moved to the bullpen and showed huge improvement in limiting hits and runs. His walk rate was still a concern, but he had an ERA under 2 for back-to-back seasons and looked back on track to make his big league debut in 2002. Then, just before he would have been promoted to Triple-A, he tore his labrum throwing a warm-up pitch. The Marlins removed him from the 40-man roster, and he missed all of 2003. He signed with the Yankees for 2004, and between single and Double-A, he limited runs with a 2.33 ERA, but also walked 19 batters in 27 innings, striking out just 12. He ended up in the independent leagues for a couple years, then retired, never having made it above Double-A. He is now senior vice president at a consulting firm in the Tampa Bay area. Number 11, Anton Williamson, Milwaukee Brewers, 4th overall, 1994. With the 4th overall pick in 94, the Brewers selected what looked like a safe pick, a strong, power-hitting third baseman who hit over .370 with 29 home runs during his final 2 seasons at Arizona State, Anton Williamson. He was a natural hitter who played the game hard and slid by diving into the base headfirst like Pete Rose. Williamson quickly showed massive potential at the plate, hitting .309 with 90 RBIs and an .852 OPS in Double-A in 1995. He had a 22-game hitting streak that season, the longest in the entire minor leagues. The Brewers thought he could hit in the big leagues, but wanted to keep working on his defense at third base. Unfortunately, injury issues started to pile up, and Williamson had to have shoulder surgery before the 1996 season, causing him to miss the first 10 weeks. He also continued to struggle defensively, and the Brewers moved him to first base. They added him to the 40-man roster after the 1996 season. In 97 with Triple-A Tucson, he hit .286 in over 83 games with an .824 OPS and more walks than strikeouts. Although his power never developed like they had hoped, the Brewers saw enough to promote him to the big leagues. But he hit just .204 in 24 games with no home runs. It would be his only big league stint. After that, Williamson struggled to stay on the field, and after 2 more subpar seasons in the minors and 1 year in the independent leagues, Williamson called it a career. Number 10, Marc Newfield, Seattle Mariners, 6th overall, 1990. In the 1990 MLB draft, the Seattle Mariners front office was extremely excited to be able to draft high school phenom Marc Newfield with their 6th pick. He was considered one of the best high school prospects in the country and continued to swing a hot bat in rookie ball, winning the 1990 Arizona League MVP by hitting .313 with 6 homers in 51 games. In 1991, he hit .296 between high A and double A with a .384 on-base percentage. His baseball card became a hot seller, expected to increase in value from about $1.75 to over $50. But in 1992, he played in just 45 games until he needed toe surgery, ending his season. In 93, he came back strong, hitting .307 with 19 homers in double A, earning a call-up to the bigs. 66 at-bats, he hit just .227 with a homer. In 1994, he tore it up in AAA again, this time hitting .349 with 19 homers and an OPS over 1,000. He got 38 more big league at-bats, but then the season ended due to the strike while he was hitting just .184. He had hit at every level except MLB. In 1995, he was hitting .188 for the M's when they traded him to San Diego. He hit better there, but never got close to realizing his full potential. Newfield ended up with the Brewers, where things went downhill. He was arrested in 1996 for drug possession with intent to distribute and did not hit well in Milwaukee for parts of 2 seasons. His career ended after 11 minor league games in 1999. He had a career MLB WAR of -1.6. After his career, he's kept a low public profile but still loves watching baseball and offers private hitting instruction. Number 9, Curt Miller, Pittsburgh Pirates, 5th overall, 1990. In 1990, the Pittsburgh Pirates took a high school arm out of Bakersfield, California, named Curt Miller.
Bakersfield? Bakersfield!
He was 6'5" and over 200 pounds and had an incredibly live arm. He pitched well his first couple of years in the minors, including a 2.5 ERA in 1991. But about a year after he was drafted, the Pirates shipped him off to the Rangers for big league veteran Steve Buechele. Miller continued to look decent until he hit AAA and struggled, going 7-13 with a 6.88 ERA, now in the Marlins organization. Desperate for starting pitching help, the Marlins promoted him anyway, and he went 1-3 with an 8.1 ERA in 4 starts. He wasn't much better for the next 2 seasons in AAA. He did make 26 appearances for the Marlins, mostly out of the bullpen in 1996, but his ERA was 6.8. Miller never could get hitters out with consistency at the big league level and was sent to the Cubs. He finally had a breakout year in the minors in 1998, going 14-3 with a 3.81 ERA, but only pitched 4 innings in the big leagues that year. In 1999, he struggled to stay healthy and effective and ended up out of baseball by 2000. Number 8, Jeff Granger, Kansas City Royals, 5th overall, 1993. In 1993, one of the finest college arms in the country had to be Jeff Granger, who had just broken Roger Clemens' Southwest Conference strikeout record by striking out 21 batters in 1 game. He also went 15-3 with a 2.62 ERA his junior year and was the starting quarterback for the Texas A&M football team. The Royals snagged him 5th overall in the draft, but they had no plans to be patient with Granger, and incredibly, after just 7 minor league starts in low A, they promoted him to the majors. He gave up 3 hits, 2 walks, and 3 runs in his only inning of work that season. Next year, he threw 140 innings in Double A, going 7-7 with a 3.87 ERA, and also made 2 unspectacular starts for the Royals in May. After a poor season in Double A in 95, he was moved to the bullpen for 96 and pitched well in AAA with a 2.34 ERA and 25 saves in 45 appearances, with his best strikeout stuff since college. It looked like he found his role, but unfortunately, he was traded to the Pirates, and the geniuses over there decided to make him a starter again. He completely struggled in the role, and then the same thing happened with the Rangers organization in 1998. Pitching for the Oklahoma Redhawks in AAA, he went 4-8 in 19 starts with a 4.67 ERA. The Brewers sent him back to the bullpen in 99, but by now it was too late, and Granger was hit hard and struggled with command. He was out of baseball after the 2000 season. He went on to become a financial advisor for J.P. Morgan. Number 7, Jeff Austin, Kansas City Royals, 4th overall, 1998. In 1998, the Kansas City Royals used their 4th overall pick to select an impressive starter out of Stanford, Jeff Austin, who went 12-4 with a 3.11 ERA that season. He had good but not overwhelming strikeout stuff, but the Royals liked his college experience and took him over high school arms like CC Sabathia and Marc Pryor. Austin's minor league career started off hot in 1999 when he began the season 5-1 with a 3.13 ERA, with opponents hitting just .230 off him. He made the league's all-star team, but struggled a bit in the second half. In 2000, he made it all the way to AAA, but went 7-9 with a 4.48 ERA. The Royals sent him to the bullpen in 2001, and his velocity seemed to improve, but the overall numbers were not great. He was promoted to the big leagues and had a 5.54 ERA in 21 appearances. He wasn't much better in 2002, and the Royals shipped him off to Cincinnati. With the Reds, Austin gave up 27 runs in just over 28 innings. He ended up in the independent leagues before retiring on July 4th, 2005. He got a degree in English from Stanford and became a full-time pitching coach there from 2008 to 2009, and then moved on to a management position for Google, but continued to work as a part-time assistant coach at San Jose State. Number 6, BJ Wallace, Montreal Expos, 3rd overall, 1992. Next up, we have BJ Wallace, the ace for Mississippi State in 91 and 92. He struck out 10.25 batters per 9 in 92 with a 2.69 ERA. He walked just 35 batters, showing tremendous command, and also made headlines during the 1992 Olympics in Spain when he struck out 14 batters in one game against Italy. Wallace made his minor league debut in 1993 with High A West Palm Beach and pitched well, going 11-8 with a 3.28 ERA and 126 strikeouts in 137.1 innings. It would be his only decent season. Injuries limited him to 8 starts in 94 in AA, and he was put on the 60-day disabled list and missed all of 1995. Wallace made 12 starts and 3 relief appearances for the Phillies High A team in Clearwater in 96, going 3-4 with a 6.68 ERA before calling it a short and disappointing professional career. He got into coaching, but also had some run-ins with the law. In 2011, at the age of 40, he was arrested along with his wife for first-degree manufacturing of a controlled substance, possession of a controlled substance, and possession of drug paraphernalia. In other words, they were cooking methamphetamine in a lab inside their home, which they shared with their 3 kids.
Say my name.
According to Wallace's college pitching coach, Ron Polk, BJ's had a tough life. He had to work hard to become the pitcher that he did, and when he got released, it was a blow to him. I just don't think enough people reached out to him, but people make their own breaks, so I can't feel too sorry for him. Number 5, Corey Meyers, Arizona Diamondbacks, 4th overall, 1999. In 1999, the Diamondbacks had their first top 10 pick in franchise history and went with a local high school kid out of Desert Vista High School in Phoenix named Corey Meyers. He played shortstop and catcher and was a 5-tool talent, ranked by Baseball America as the #1 non-pitching high school prospect in the country. During his junior year, he hit .482 with 15 homers and 41 RBIs, and during one stretch, accomplished the near impossible by hitting 5 homers in 5 straight at-bats. The next year, his power improved even more, and he broke his high school division's home run record. Meyers planned to attend Arizona State to be teammates with his brother Casey, but after getting picked 4th overall, decided to go pro. He was not a terrible hitter in the minors, but didn't tear it up either. He had some defensive issues at shortstop and was moved to 3rd base and then 1st base. In 2002 in High A, he hit .290 with 13 homers and a 793 OPS. And then the next season, he hit .290 again in AA with a 784 OPS. By now, Meyers had been moved to catcher and earned a promotion to AAA, where he responded with a .295 average and 7 homers in 57 games. As a catcher, the pitchers loved him, and his teams won most of the games he was behind the dish. Unfortunately, he was never promoted to the big leagues, and in 2005 his numbers dipped as he hit just .239 with 4 homers in AAA. He played with the Angels system for a couple more years and put up average numbers, but was never promoted. Meyers played a few games in the independent leagues and retired after 2007. He returned to Arizona State and coached the softball team before becoming assistant head coach at Auburn. He is now the owner of a baseball training company, CM3 Sports Enterprises, LLC. Number 4, Calvin Murray, San Francisco Giants, 7th overall, 1992. Calvin Murray was such a highly touted prospect that he was drafted in the 1st round not once, but twice. First by the Indians in 1989, and then by the San Francisco Giants in 92. After not signing in 89, Murray went to college at Texas and hit .351 with 47 steals his junior year. The Giants took him ahead of future superstars Jason Giambi and Johnny Damon. Murray was known as a guy who could fly, play elite defense, and hit for average. The Giants also thought he could develop some big power. Unfortunately, while he certainly could run and play defense, he struggled to hit consistently at the professional level and lingered in the Giants farm system for 7 years. He did show some improvement though, and in 1998 he hit .293 between AA and AAA, and had his breakout minor league season in '99 when he hit .334 with 23 homers and 42 steals for the AAA Fresno Grizzlies. Giants fans like myself thought we had a future all-star who just took a little more time than normal to develop. Unfortunately, that year in AAA was the last time he would show that kind of talent. In 2000, he hit just .242 with 2 homers for the Giants with 9 steals. And in 2001, the Giants decided to just put him in the lineup for an extended period and really find out what he could do. He hit .245 with 6 homers in 326 at-bats. Not horrible, but not great either. The Giants traded him to the Rangers, and he bounced around for a few years and was out of baseball by 2005. Murray had a .231 career MLB average with 8 homers in 633 at-bats and 22 steals. Number 3, Brooks Kishik, Chicago Cubs, 10th overall, 1993. Long before Shohei Ohtani, there was a young up-and-coming player named Brooks Kishik who baseball fans all believed was the next Babe Ruth, a player who could both pitch and hit at an elite level. He is the only player to have won the Dick Howser Trophy given to the best college baseball player of the year twice. For the Texas Longhorns, Kishik hit .360, crushing 43 homers and driving in 215 runs. As a pitcher, he went 34-8 with a 3.05 ERA, earning a reputation as a legitimate two-way player who could be drafted either as a position player or pitcher, or both. In the 1993 draft, he was taken 10th overall by the Chicago Cubs, who decided that his offense, especially his power, was more important than his pitching, and used him as a position player. The decision seemed like the right one, as he moved through the minor leagues quickly, hitting for power and average every step along the way. In '95, he hit .295 with 23 homers and a .370 on base for the AAA Iowa Cubs. He was called up to the big leagues in '96 and had an amazing debut performance, hitting his first big league homer and going 10 for 29, good enough for a .345 batting average. All signs pointed towards Kishik being a regular for the '97 Cubs. However, he was reportedly stunned and dejected after being sent back to minor league camp during the last week of spring training. He was eventually called up but hit just 290 at-bats. The next year, the Devil Rays claimed him in their expansion draft but never promoted him to the big leagues. He ended up signing with the Reds in 2000 but went 0 for 12 with 5 strikeouts. He did have a bit of a resurgence with the Brewers in 2003 and 2004 as Kishik took up pitching again and was a decent arm coming out of the bullpen, and he also seemed to hit better in the role with a .300 average and 7 bombs in 2003. The Brewers utilized him as a power-hitting pinch hitter. However, he never played in an MLB game after 2004. He now owns Dispersion Group, a medical device distribution company in San Antonio. Number 2, Josh Booty, Florida Marlins, 5th overall, 1994. In 1994, the still brand new Florida Marlins thought they struck gold with an amazing athlete named Josh Booty, a two-way player who was so good in football that several D1 programs offered him scholarships. As a baseball player, he hit .429 with 25 steals and 12 homers and was the starting shortstop for the U.S. Junior Olympic National Team. He chose baseball, but struggled to make contact in the minors. In 1995 in A-ball, he hit just .187, striking out 130 times. The next year, he set a Midwest League record with 195 strikeouts. He hit just .206. His numbers were so poor, he would have certainly been released if he was just another minor leaguer. But as a 5th overall pick, the Marlins kept pushing him closer to the big leagues. In AAA, he hit just .210 with 166 strikeouts, but did manage 20 home runs, and that was all the Marlins needed to promote him. He had a hot start, going 3 for his first 5, but then hit .158 in 1998 before leaving the game of baseball. He never could figure out how to hit a curveball.
I cannot hit curveball. Straight ball, I hit it very much. Curveball, that's our afraid.
Booty returned to football at LSU and eventually made it to the NFL. After his football career, he started Big League Dreams Ventures, a consulting and marketing company. Number 1, Brian Taylor, New York Yankees, first overall, 1991. At number 1 is by far the consensus best player in the 1991 MLB draft, Brian Taylor. At that time, Taylor was considered possibly the best high school pitcher of all time. The Yankees took him first overall and eventually signed him for, at the time, an insane $1.55 million. Taylor hired the famous Scott Boras as an advisor. Boras said in 2006 that Brian Taylor to this day is still the best high school pitcher I've seen in my life. He had a fastball that touched triple digits, and he struck out 213 of 264 batters while walking only 28. No one could touch him. In his first year in the minors in '92, he pitched well, striking out 187 batters in 161 innings with a 2.7 ERA in High A Fort Lauderdale. Next season in AA, he went 13-7 with a 3.48 ERA. Nothing insanely impressive, but definitely good enough to expect that he would make his big league debut in 1994. But then on December 13th, during the offseason, Taylor got into a fist fight defending his brother and severely injured his shoulder. He needed major surgery and missed all of '94. By the time he came back, he had lost 8 miles per hour off his fastball and completely lost his command. The Yankees were forced to keep him in single A while he tried to work it out, but his numbers were atrocious. He went 0-5 with an 18.73 ERA and walked a ridiculous 43 batters in 16 innings. The Yankees had no choice but to release him. After baseball, he worked for UPS, then as a beer distributor, and later he was arrested and charged with cocaine trafficking and spent over 3 years in prison. It's insane to think what would have happened if he had never gotten into that fist fight, as Taylor was on the fast track to the big leagues with some of the best stuff any pitching prospect has ever had. And that does it for today's video on the biggest draft busts of the 1990s. Let me know your thoughts down below. If you haven't already, check out my biggest busts of the 2000s and the biggest busts of the 2010s, as well as players who were drafted in the 2010s who better play well this season or they're going to end up as busts as well. And look forward to another upcoming bust video, the top 15 busts of the 1980s. Have a fantastic day, everyone. I appreciate all the amazing support, and we'll talk to you next time.